Thank you, everyone. It's still awesome and great to be here again once more. Yesterday, I put out several information, or better yet, I put out some information about crisis situations and how you can not necessarily be over-prepared for a crisis, but you still have to. You have to throw your jabs once in a while. You know, when crisis comes, then you show up. You show up. Don't go hiding when there's a crisis. Don't take cover. Don't run out of your country like the Afghan president, left the entire nation behind, and right now, man, he has taken off. And if you focused on the news, you'll find out that the Afghan airport in Kabul has a lot of, it's a rowdy, crowded place. People are trying to cut out from Afghanistan and all that. But anyways, that's not the reason for this content today. What I basically want to talk about has to do with the 8 things you can do as a board leader, as a leader in the board when crises show up. 8 things you can do. 1, you have to acknowledge that there is a crisis. You cannot afford to be in denial. In fact, it is said, in fact, from my own personal experience, like when things are most heightened, like that's when cerebrally, like I'm thinking at another level, at another peak level, like my performance level when, let's say I have a deadline, for example, my performance level is almost off the roof, but that's really not a good thing because of procrastination. You procrastinate, all of a sudden deadline shows up and you want to like boom, things like that. But the point I'm making with this is that you have to acknowledge that it's a problem. There is absolutely no point denying that problem exists. Number 2, you have to take responsibility early, and you have to communicate that you have taken responsibility. Taking responsibility may not necessarily mean that you are accepting that you are the genesis or you are the root cause of that particular crisis. It's just showing that, okay, I acknowledge that there is a crisis and I take responsibility of the facts of this crisis. If you are a leader, for example, it's not all the time that you throw your entire team under the bus. Sometimes you have to show up, even when you know that your team has made that wrong decision, but the buck starts and even stops with you. So you have to take responsibility early. You have to take responsibility early. Thirdly, you have to project some form of confidence. Some form of confidence. You have to project confidence. People have to see that this person acknowledges the problem, he has taken responsibility early, and he's showing confidence. He's giving the impression through the confidence that he's exuding that he or she would be dealing with this crisis head on. That's very important, and that projection of confidence is where you really need to over-communicate. You have to communicate. People need to understand, where do you stand in this crisis situation. If you are an individual who, for example, let's say the crisis is directly emanating from the job, or your own job description, the job that you do, or your responsibilities within an organization, within a boardroom, you have to project confidence that you have what it takes to deal with that crisis and to deliver results at the end of the day. I hear people talk about optimism. This is my rule number 4. You have to be optimistic, but your optimism cannot be based on emotions. It cannot be that kind of optimism that maybe you showed up in a religious house and all of a sudden you are fired up like, I'm optimistic. No, optimistic on what? What is the ground? What's the basis for your optimism? Your optimism has to dwell on the facts. The facts, it has to be rooted in facts, and those facts have to be available to you. And in talking about facts, basically, if for example you are an isolated leader, you are a leader that you isolate yourself from everybody, when you find yourself in that crisis, where are you going to get the facts from? So you must be able to see how you can surround yourself strategically with people that understand how the organization runs, people who understand how the boardroom runs, people that have certain form of contacts or the other. You must surround yourself with people that can assist you to weather that particular storm. That is where your optimism actually comes from. It doesn't come from a place of wishful thinking or maybe singing or shouting or jumping. No, you cannot rely on that. Some people have jumped their way into prison. Some have jumped their way out of the boardroom. Some have sang praises, out, and at the end of the day, they didn't get the strategy right. So their optimism was actually on sinking sand. On sinking sand. Then number 5, this is not the time for you to be sluggish. You have to act quickly. Whoever has thrown that crisis jab at you, had to plan that for quite a while. Imagine somebody has been planning for the past 6 months to unsettle your leadership, to create some form of conflict based on certain misconstrued facts that you may have made available to your opponents or to your enemy, as the case may be. Somebody took 6 months to plan for something that you have less than 24 hours to respond to. That is not the time to be on a plane, out of Nigeria, or to go through Nigeria land borders. Maybe you find yourself in Benin Republic, things like that. Or maybe you are rounded up in some other country across Africa or Europe. That's not the point. The time for you to act quickly, you have to be decisive. You have to take, people need to see that this person has already, he has made contact here. He has made contact here. He has spoken to that person. He has done this. He has done that. You need to also give a feedback to wherever that crisis is coming from. That, man, I'm born ready. I can deal with this. This is actually not motivation anyway, but you must be in that kind of mind frame to be able to deal with certain kind of crisis that you may actually find around yourself.